The first thing everyone noticed was the money lying on the table, a neat stack of crisp bills glowing under the chandelier lights like it didn't belong in a place where plates were chipped and dreams were quieter than the background music. The second thing they noticed was the man staring at it, frozen mid-step, his apron still dusted with flour, his hands shaking not from greed but from fear. In a restaurant where wealthy strangers came and went without a second glance at the staff, a billionaire had just walked out and left $1,000 behind, and a poor single dad server now stood at the center of a moment that would change his life forever. Before the story pulls you deeper, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of good intentions, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness. Because every small action can create a wave far bigger than we imagine. The man was named Daniel, and to most customers he was invisible. He was the kind of server people snapped their fingers at, the kind they barely looked at when ordering expensive meals they wouldn't remember by morning. But Daniel remembered everything because every shift mattered. Every tip went toward rent, school lunches, and the worn-out shoes of his 8-year-old daughter, who waited for him every night in a small apartment filled with second-hand furniture and first-hand love. Daniel had not always been a server. Life had once looked brighter. A factory job, steady pay, plans for the future. Then an accident took his wife, then layoffs took his job, and suddenly survival became his only long-term plan. The restaurant was not glamorous, but it kept the lights on most of the time. That night had already been hard. The restaurant buzzed with wealthy guests, laughter echoing against marble floors, while Daniel balanced heavy trays with a practiced smile that hid exhaustion. His feet ached, his back burned, and his mind kept drifting to the overdue electricity bill folded in his pocket like a warning. When the billionaire arrived, no one knew who he was at first. He dressed simply, ate quietly, and barely touched his phone. Daniel served him like any other guest, refilling glasses, clearing plates, never expecting anything more than a standard tip, maybe less. When the man finished and stood to leave, there was no scene, no announcement, just the soft scrape of a chair and the door closing behind him. It was only when Daniel went to clean the table that he saw it. $1,000 left openly, not tucked into a bill folder, not hidden, but placed deliberately where anyone could see it. His heart dropped. In that instant, fear rushed in faster than hope. In a place like this, money left behind was a problem, not a blessing. Accusations came easily, and single fathers with worn shoes and tired eyes did not get the benefit of the doubt. Around him, the restaurant moved on, unaware that Daniel's entire future felt like it was balancing on that small stack of bills. He stood there longer than he should have, his thoughts racing. That money could pay rent. It could buy groceries without counting every coin. It could mean a doctor's visit he had been postponing for his daughter. But it could also mean losing his job, his reputation, the last fragile stability he had. Daniel did something no one expected. Instead of pocketing the money or calling a manager immediately, he stepped back, scanned the room, and waited. Minutes passed. The billionaire did not return. The manager was busy, the guests distracted, and temptation grew heavier with every second. What Daniel did next stunned everyone, not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it was quiet and rare. He picked up the money, walked straight to the front desk, and reported it as lost property, asking that it be logged, secured, and returned if the guest came back. There was no performance, no hesitation. Just a tired man choosing honesty when no one would have blamed him for choosing survival. Some coworkers watched in disbelief. Others shook their heads, convinced he was foolish. In a world that had taken so much from him, Daniel had just given something back. The shift ended with no miracle. Daniel went home to his daughter, reheated leftover pasta, and helped with homework under a flickering light. He did not mention the money. He did not allow himself hope. The next morning, he returned to work early, ready for another long day. That was when everything changed. The manager called him into the office, not with suspicion, but with an unfamiliar softness. The billionaire had returned, not angry, not confused, but deeply moved. He had left the money intentionally, not as a tip, but as a test of character, a quiet experiment after years of seeing wealth change people in ways he no longer admired. The story of Daniel's honesty had traveled fast, faster than gossip ever did. The billionaire did more than reclaim the money. He insisted Daniel keep it, along with something far greater. He offered help, not charity, but opportunity. He listened to Daniel's story, really listened, and saw not a server, but a man worn down by responsibility and still standing. Within weeks, Daniel found himself with a better position, training for management, his hours stabilized, his income steady. The $1,000 became a symbol, not of luck, but of trust earned. Life did not suddenly become perfect. Bills still came, mornings were still early, and grief still visited when Daniel least expected it. But something fundamental had shifted. His daughter noticed it first, the way he smiled more, the way stress no longer lived permanently in his shoulders. He began saving, planning, dreaming again. And every time he passed that table, the memory reminded him that integrity could echo louder than desperation. As this story comes close to its end, if it has touched your heart even a little, if it reminded you that goodness still matters, take a moment now to like the video, share it with someone who might need hope, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness, because stories like this only grow when they are passed on. Before the final moment, we have a special request for you. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel, because your words might inspire someone else who is silently struggling. Daniel never became famous. He never needed to. His story lived quietly in a restaurant filled with strangers, in a choice made when no one was watching, and in a daughter who grew up seeing that even in the hardest moments, doing the right thing can change everything. If this story moved you, if it made you believe again in kindness, honesty, and second chances, please engage with this video from your heart, because every ripple of kindness begins with someone choosing to care.